eyeball surgery than sit through a lengthy and boring Seder. With that in mind, we wanted to make this the most entertaining and fun Haggadah ever. We thought about putting Sudoku puzzles in it, or a helicopter chase scene involving the Pharaoh. We even considered doing the Haggadah in the form of an app so that younger people could go through the entire Seder without ever looking up from their phones. That's how serious we are about engaging young people. In the end, we went with a more traditional print format. In these pages, you'll find the Seder service accompanied by some Hebrew writing. We frankly don't know what this writing says. For all we know, it's a Hebrew repair manual for a 1973 Westinghouse dishwasher. We just felt that there should be some Hebrew in here. You'll also find discussion questions and activities sprinkled throughout the book. These will make the Seder last longer, so you should ignore them. We also strongly recommend that you appoint somebody as the Seder leader, with the authority to assign reading passages and assess fines for mispronunciations, slow reading, asking too many questions, etc. The Seder leader should have a whistle approved by the Rabbinical Council of America. Note that this Haggadah follows the traditional Hebrew page numbering format, which means the first page is located at what would ordinarily be the end of the book, and the last page is located at what would ordinarily be the beginning. It's important for you to remember this because otherwise you'll tell the Exodus story backward, starting with the Israelites as free people in the Promised Land and ending with them as slaves in Egypt. But however you tell the story, the important thing is that, as a family, you are carrying on the ancient Jewish tradition of sitting around a table and carrying on a tradition, followed by a soup course. It is up to you, as a Jewish person, to keep this tradition alive by passing it on to your children, so that someday they too will purchase this Haggadah, and our children will receive royalties. We will close with these Hebrew words. That means, to avoid tearing, moisten drain gasket before removal.
A note to grandparents. To put it bluntly, you are loathed at the Seder table. Yes, during the other 364 days of the year, you are cherished, respected, and even tolerated for smelling more like a cedar closet than you once did. You represent happy childhoods to your children, give gifts and tell great stories to their children, and are forgiven for having teeth the same color as Dijon mustard. But then, in the time it takes to say, after 40 years in the desert, Moses' breath could melt a pyramid, all that unbridled affection unravels because of your insistence that we read every single Hebrew word of an already long service that stands in the way of partaking in the festive meal. The irony being that these prolonged prayers cannot even be heard above the growling stomachs of the people seated at the table. Hungry adults who have worked all day and battled traffic on their commutes home. Hungry children who've spent the entire day at school and are looking forward to singing Dayenu and then stuffing their faces before pillaging the house in search of the afikomen with their cousins. Even hungry pets are eager to forego the ho-hum blandness of store-bought food in favor of a delicacy like a discarded shank bone. Is it any wonder that, according to the polls conducted by the Federation of Rabbinical Theologians, FART, while the rabbis were well aware that the acronym should have been FORT, a contingent of the least mature of them lobbied in favor of FART because it made them giggle. The most despised people in the Jewish community list looks like this. 1. Adolf Hitler. 2. Osama bin Laden. 3. Grandparents at Seders. 4. ISIS. Exactly what should be done to stem the mounting tide of disdain and preserve the legacy of this greatest generation? The Federation of Rabbinical Theologians, in conjunction with the recently formed League of United Divine Learned Youth, fart loudly, maintains that the ball is in the grandparents' court. Your choices are threefold. 1. You can keep your mouth shut and adhere to the wishes of offspring whose turn it is to run their own seders as they see fit. 2. You cannot show up to the seders until after the meal when the door is opened and you are dressed as Elijah, which will provide a good laugh for adoring grandchildren, especially if you give them money after their laughs subside. Or 3. You can convert to a religion that doesn't eat. The choice is yours.
A note to Episcopalians. You have picked up the wrong book. Preparing for the Seder. The first step in preparing your household for the Seder is to get rid of all the chametz. We do this to remind ourselves of a time when the Jewish people had a bunch of chametz around and they got rid of it.